Hi everyone, let's talk a bit about caching in Drupal 8. Caching in Drupal 8 is quite different than we did it in the Drupal 7 days, and that's why I've made this tutorial. It's changed radically, so in Drupal 8 the cache API was introduced with, let's say, 3 types of caching we would do on, let's say, a block, a controller, a view, actually everything you render on your Drupal site. And I'll discuss all 3 of them. The first one is cache tags. So like the documentation says, for dependencies on data managed by Drupal, like entities and configuration, we use cache tags. So what does it mean? It means that if you have, for example, a block which should be cached, unless some entity changes, we use cache tags for this. So in my example module I've made, you can find it on my GitHub page, I've made a block called block cache tags. And what the block does is it creates a random number, and the number does not change until a node with a certain ID is updated. So when another node gets updated, the block won't change, but only if a node with a certain ID gets updated, we use this cache tag. So right here you can see it in action. So public function get cache tags and return cache merge tags array node 68. So in my system I have a node 68, and let's see what this block looks like. So we have a random number 1138, and whatever I do, this number won't change. So if I add another page, so this is my node 68, if I add another page, test, and I refresh, excuse me, the number isn't changed. But if I change my page 68, this one, and save it, then I refresh, the number is changed. So this is a good example of the use of cache tags. So we say to this block or controller or whatever, don't invalidate your cache. So load your cached output until node of that ID is updated. Unfortunately, it's not possible to say like nodes all nodes of type article. So I think that's a flaw, but we have a solution for this. So first, take a look at the documentation. So in this case, we used node, but we can use any type of entity, and not only nodes, but of course also users. When a user with a number change, or we can use node underscore list. So this is the cache tag for every node entity. So when any node entity is changed, it will clear the cache of that block. So let's have a look at example 2 of this cache tags. So I'll do this in comments. And example 2 is what I just said, the node list. So I'll put this in comments. So, okay, let's clear the caches. So now I've changed the output of my block, changed the cache tag, cache tag, sorry. Let's have a look what the block says. So this number will not change until any node is updated. It can be nodes of type article, can be nodes of type page. So first, let's see if it works by adding a parameter test. Yes, this does work because it's not changed. Then add, instead of a page, an article. And we'll see that our number gets updated. So this is the node list. In my opinion, this is not enough. So we want a bit more of control. Let's say we've made this custom block with a slider or stuff like that. We only wanted to invalidate the cache when nodes of a certain type are updated. So I've made an example for this as well. So let's put this in comment this out. So you can all do this because it's available to use freely. So here we see this number does not change until nodes of type page are updated. So this is more interesting, I think. And I've made a custom cache tag for this. So I have block cache examples page updates. Now, a custom cache tag is also very interesting because this will only invalidate when my cache tag is cleared. So how can we clear this cache tag? I've made a hook in the .module file. It's called, for example, I call the hook on node insert, node update, and node delete. So whenever a page, an entity, a node of type page gets inserted, updated, or deleted, we invalidate the custom tag we added here in our block. So this adds a lot of control for us. It's very interesting, I think so. So let's clear the cache and have a look at how it works. Okay, so this number does not change until nodes of type page are updated. So just to be clear, this is my cache number 767. So now I'll add an article, or I'll delete this article. My number stays the same, but I'll update, or I'll delete my second page. Ooh. And now the number has changed. So in my opinion, great way, cache tags. Check it out. You could use them for a lot of use cases. Now let's have a look at our second type. That it's called a cache context. Now a cache context is, like the documentation says, something different. It's used for variations. For example, dependencies on the request context. So the word is right. It's cache context. So let me just show a use case and then you'll get an idea of how it works. So cache context is something we would rather use for logged in users. If you'd like to make this also work for anonymous users, disable then the internal page cache. You can read it here. Now, first, let's have a look at this. I'll disable my cache tags. Cache tag example. Let's disable this one and enable our context example. So block caching with cache contexts. Enable. So what will this block do? It will generate a random number and I'll log in with the user and it will show the username and the same number across all pages. So here below you can see I have not my get cache tags, but a get cache context function, and it returns user. So this says don't change this block until the current user is changed. We could again do user. Oh no, sorry, that's a cache tag, so I'm wrong here. In this case, this user, the user that will log in, will get the context, and if it just means that this user will always get the version he renders. So let's have a look. This will make a lot clearer, I guess. So I'll log in. Okay. So this shows the username and the same number across all pages. So this is my username and 3696 and okay again. So this is typically something you would use with an hello Steph, hello person X type of block. So I'll see a unique version of this block across all pages. So I get a cached block. It doesn't fetch every time, but it's only for me to see. Now I have a second variant of this. It's another example of a context you can add. So this will show my username, but a different number across all pages. So we have a second context we've added here, and that's the URL path. Typically, you would want a block to show stuff, but on every node, like for example, every URL, you would want to show another number or another output. So clear cache, I did that. This is my username, and it will be different across all pages. So let's do /user. Yes, I get another number. So cache context, quite strong, quite good in my opinion also. Of course, in the documentation you get a lot of other context you could use. Let's have a look. Context can be route, also cookies, headers, sessions, theme, for example, URL, query arguments even, and user role. User role is also something you typically do. So, okay, quite nice, I think. Then a third one, it's an other format. Let's have a look. Another cacheability metadata. It's called cache max age. And this is for time sensitive caching. Let's say you would want a block to be cached for 1 day, or a controller cannot change for 1 week. These are things you could do with this. In my case, I created one that's just returns 0. So this means never cache up this block. This is also quite interesting. This is wrong, so I'll do it away. So let's enable this one. This is our last one. Also something you would use. So disable block caching. So of course, if I return 0, then I disable the block caching, of course. So let's disable this one. And I think I have to disable my... So I have this one to enable. Excuse me, did something wrong there. Yeah, let's have a look. I think I did something wrong. Block caching with cache context. That's not what we route. Okay, so disable block caching example. This number will always change and hence is never cached. So I have 4082. When I go to slash, or I'll add a parameter, I'll get another number. So this will be different for every user, for every on every page. It will just, of course, this one is cached on my page itself. Um, this just uses internal page caching, but if we add something else, we'll get a different number. So, okay, this is the third one. I think you get the idea. I hope you found it interesting. Also, take a look at my newly created um, channel on YouTube. I'm planning to do a lot of video tutorials, so let me know if it was useful for you. Also, my website, I have a lot of snippets there. Have a look at it and have fun with it. Bye.